Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the Awujo experiment, Holding Class with Slim DeWitt. Slim and I have come together to talk about the Black art that is hip hop, and we want to discuss how it came to be, its evolution, and its current state as it relates to life in America and abroad. Many may think of Rapper's Delight as one of the first rap or hip hop songs. Hip hop was born from the civil rights era, and Rapper's Delight was the first rap song to be played on the radio 9 years after the genre had been established to keep Black America hopeful and aware. I hope you enjoy this first episode, and please like, subscribe, and invite others to come check us out. See you around. Bye.
Welcome, everyone, to the very first Awujo podcast. Thank you for being here. This is the Awujo experiment. First and foremost, I want to introduce my handsome and very intelligent co-host, Mr. Slim DeWitt.
What's going on, all the viewers out there? I am Slim, musical artist. I taught in the past, high school, to be specific, at my old high school, boarding high school in Massachusetts. That was 10th grade English. And by musical artist, I mean I'm a rapper and a singer. And yes, I connect the two. My knack for writing and literary devices all funnel straight through the lyricism in my music. I think that's very important. I'm all about letting my light shine, and that is easily how we got connected. And I'm honored to be a part of Awujo in this podcast, and I'm looking forward to all the brilliance that is to come.
Thank you so much, Slim. And that was amazing. I mean, you would think that we agreed on that. And that was just you being that lyricist. Thank you for giving us a sample of your flow and how you do what you do. Um, and Slim, do we want to tell people where you're located, where you're from? Because
Oh,
I love that too.
I'm from Newark, New Jersey, Brick City.
AKA Brick City. Brick
Brick City.
City. Yes. Yes, I love Brick City very, very much. So I'm Yvette Gibbs. I am the founder and managing director of Awujo Consulting. And this podcast has been something I've been wanting to do for a very long time now. But just finding the right vibe, the right co-host, and the right everything takes time. And seeing Slim's light when I first joined TikTok last year, sometime in March, I was like, this young man is saying all the things that I didn't know needed to be said to your generation. And you really helped me, Slim, to let out a sigh of relief too, because I didn't have to create things. You had already done it. So yeah.
I appreciate you saying that. I didn't want to interrupt in your introduction, but I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. No, I need you to know that, Slim. You know, I know we've been talking for a while now, but this is the Awujo podcast and part of my introduction, but this is also about me introducing you. The way that you take certain topics, the way that you connect the dots on things, just really, really, it just makes me hopeful and excited about the future. So one of the things that Awujo's podcast will be doing is bringing music, hip hop in particular, but all music, to the airwaves. Is it airwaves? No, I'm going to take that out.
To the people?
To the people, bringing music to the people and helping people to hear what's being said between the bars.
That's
That's
a
a bar.
That's a bar.
Don't get me started, Slim, because the kids meaning my daughter, my goddaughter, my nieces and nephews, I keep telling them I'm gonna be a ghostwriter for someone one day. Okay. So don't get me started. But anyway, Slim. Anyway, I
Uh-huh.
do feel like that's a bar. Thank you for acknowledging that. But I think it's very important, and I have been wanting to do it for some time.
Mm.
And again, to go to TikTok and to see you doing the hip hop history and taking it from the Harlem Renaissance to today. I'm like, how did this young man get into my dreams? Like, how like I was, I really don't have the words to explain like how on time and on point that content was.
Mm.
I live in New Jersey. I call this South Central Jersey. So my hometown is Burlington City. Grew up in Burlington County, known as the cradle of emancipation. And what I started to recognize, Slim, is that people didn't understand the civil rights era. And they didn't understand how when the civil rights leaders of the 60s passed away, that
Mm.
conversations kept going and things went underground, messaging went underground, and hip hop was born. So, in this podcast, we'll be talking about a lot of that. Um, but today, the reason that we connected is because it's January 15th. Um, it is Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. And um, I wanted to talk about how he would feel um, about the current state of affairs. And not just him, how another, do I want to call him a prophet? Tupac. What are we going to call Mr. Tupac?
A man ahead of his time?
Okay.
Was he really? Because the message is always on time, always has been.
Yeah. Just a man that we can say ahead of his time, because I think that that is appropriate for the masses.
Mm.
But for people that love hip hop, grew up on hip hop, our hip hop, he was the messenger.
They know. Yep. There it
Yeah,
is. The
yeah,
messenger.
he was the messenger. He was carrying the message, and again, for today's podcast and for what today brings, it's like as a kid, as someone probably about your age, maybe a little younger, when Tupac came out, I would not have compared him to an MLK. This was the music that I was shaking my thing to. Um, but at almost 50 now, I'm like, wow,
Mm.
wow. Um, and one of his lines that really got me, his lines being Tupac's line, was when he said, "We're not ready to see a black president in changes." Um, that got me, and I feel like I know I'm going off from the flow, but I'm just before
Mhm.
we hit record, I was on one, so we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk.
Uh-huh.
But that line got me, Slim, because I heard him, and I know that he said it with conviction, and he wouldn't have put it on. He wouldn't put it out there for the world if he didn't mean it. So
Mm.
when Obama first got into office, I was like, Tupac was wrong. We are ready. Um, and now I see he was right. He was right. Doesn't mean that it shouldn't happen. It definitely needed to happen. Um,
Mhm.
and I think it needed to happen for all the reasons that MLK was saying. In no way, shape, or form have we ever been less than. It has been a perception. And now it's known that we're not less than. But why is the treatment what it is? Why? And that's what we're here to talk about, Slim. Um, I'm not here, and I'm gonna say this for myself, okay? I'm not here to really do the whining and moaning because life is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And I say that all the time. And if my dad catches this, he's going to laugh, because that has been my saying for at least 2 decades now. And it's not because I'm giving up on anything, but you can't bang your head up against the wall when things aren't moving the way you want them to, if you haven't spent the time to see what you might need to do differently.
Mm-hmm.
So for all that's happening right now, for all that we're seeing, as I see it, there's a lot of opportunity to do some gap analysis. There's a lot of opportunity to have conversations. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of opportunity to pause and reflect. There's a lot of opportunity to say, I heard this. Is that what you meant? So we really got to get to the point where we take those opportunities to bridge those gaps so that we can start understanding and hearing one another.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna say this, Slim, and I'm gonna give it back to you. But even the name for this podcast, yes, the Awujo experiment, ... holding class with Slim DeWitt. And you said you like that. I'm glad you like that, because I want people to understand that there's a gap in there's an age difference here. I'm old enough to be your mother, but I am damn sure learning from you, honey.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning from you. When I listen to your content, I'm learning about you. When I'm talking with you, I'm able to expand on things that I just didn't think a man of your age would even be concerned with. I thought that, these types of concerns don't come to people until they are in their late 30s, 40s, or whatever. So you're what people would call that old soul. And I meet a lot of old souls. I was an old soul. So I want to help these old souls to recognize that what they're picking up on is not anything that they should fear, but you definitely want to understand what it is so that we can come together and we can be our best selves.
Yeah.
That's how we get to the next level, understanding ourselves first and then going out there and saying what we expect.
Yeah. That self-reflection, and then that communication, and learning how to talk and how to, it's funny, not even funny, it's beautiful how you brought it full circle. As you're talking, you like, and I'm gonna end with this before I pass it back to you, even the name of this podcast, and I'm like, she did it.
Yeah, I got it right.
That's what we do. We go on little tangents and we bring it right back.
Yes.
Circle, it's all connected.
Yes. And I love that you just said tangents, because I was listening to some of your content, and this is a couple years. I don't know how old you
I was
were.
singing How to Love, and it was in this room,
Yes,
and it looked kind of green. Oh, man.
Yes.
I don't know how I got 6,000. It's still my most viewed YouTube video to this day. And I'm like, my vocals have increased so much since then. What is going on here? I left it up. So
People
when
check out the evolution. Check out the evolution.
I feel myself when I blow and I'm a much better singer, then people will be go back and be like, dang, he ain't give up.
Yeah, but you can't give up. We talked about that on Monday. Not you just can't give up. This is in you. It has to see light.
And for context, I've tried twice. It won't. I can't live without it. I must.
Yeah.
And that's why I meant so much when you said you came across the content and you didn't know you needed to hear or needed to be put out there. And I'm always sort of grappling in my mind when when I'm blessed with an idea, or I download the message, as some people like to say, or the way I'm supposed to deliver it. And I'm like, I don't know, because I'm thinking about what I've seen, what works, and I'm trying to go with what works. But apparently I've been entrusted with being a trailblazer, which, and we talked about this Monday too, it isn't cute. The process is not cute. The after. So we just gonna thug it out. Oh, that's my little cousin. He wants to play Fortnite. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. We pause for the babies. We pause for the babies.
He knows if I ignore his call, he should leave me be for a little bit though.
That's good. That's
But,
good.
but
But
yeah, I fear sometimes that I'm not gonna do it right, or that someone else is gonna do it or has done it better. But that message that a lot of people say, and it sounds cliche, but it's really not, is what's for you is for you, and it will not pass you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But what I wanted to come back to, Slim, was your content. The content that I had seen of yours that was older. I think it's like 3 years old. There was something that you had said that really, really resonated with me. And I think it was the
What's
song Focus.
finally focused, the one you sent me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think it was that one.
Do you remember what I had to deal with the lyrics?
What you say is you there's a line where you say something about when you go off on tangents, that's your ego.
Yeah, it is going on.
It is focus.
My ego go from tangents. Uh-huh.
Okay. Because when I heard that, I'm like, I go off on tangents a lot. So my ego. And here's the thing. Since I'm self-aware, I can hear that and sit with it for a little bit. And I'm like, sometimes it might be.
Mm,
Sometimes I might be geeking out too. But again, hearing your art and hearing how you describe yourself and me being able to lean into that allows
mm,
me to understand myself. So that this art thing, this hip hop is art, this music thing, I'm staying on that because hip hop as a genre of music has grown like it has because so many people connect with it. It
mm.
resonates with people. It makes people think about themselves. It makes people go in, and that's what we're supposed to be doing. And again, me being older than you, I love hearing young folks content and it being on point for me, you
I love
know.
how you say hip hop is,
Yes.
because we're not, the goalpost stays the same. Because
Yes.
a lot of conversations is hip hop's not what it was. Whatever that is now is not hip hop. So I love that you're saying hip hop is a message and makes you think. Yes, it does and is. And I've been in the mindset of it was. No,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it is. And we're gonna stand on that definition, and we're gonna uphold that and maintain that.
Yes, absolutely. I'm glad you got all that from that because that's definitely what is at what's in my soul. So, and the reason I say hip hop is because it is art. So art is going to do what it's done.
Yep.
So when I hear people critical of, even because there was a period, and I'm just going to say, and I'm sorry, and you're going to help to correct me. We're going to learn from others, but the mumble rap, as they once called it,
Uh-huh.
you know what music I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay,
As
okay,
a and I used to tell my students all the time, as an English teacher and a rapper, I cannot get behind any of it. Any of it. Not one bit.
yeah, and
It
and
It's no disrespect to those guys. A lot of it sounds good. A lot of music sounds good. I mean, they sell the records they do and hit the numbers they do and sell out the tours they do for a reason. It sounds good.
mhm.
And we're gonna get to the point, the message. That's the point of this episode, right? So I don't want to jump the gun here, but and I didn't
Yeah.
mean to cut you off either, but I know exactly what mumble rap is.
No, and thank you because I don't like to call it mumble rap because of course that has negative
Yeah,
connotation.
yeah.
Because I feel as though it is still hip hop. It's a story, it's a person's story, it's their hustle, their struggle, it's them doing what they need to do to survive too. So there's a lot of different ways that
Oh, you
it
mean
can
like
be.
making music in order to make a living?
Yes,
I,
yes.
I spoke about that in my 50 years too. Yep.
Yes. And see, I didn't remember that, but as I'm seeing it, you got to recognize that it's a product. So if that's how that person, if that's what they need to trade to get them coins, then it
Mm.
is what it is. And is that the artist's fault, or is that something that society could
And that's
pick
exactly what I was
on?
talking about. Yup. Because I was talking about all the when drill rap started. So I rapped over Chief Keef, and it was a Love Sosa, and that's when the drill era started. It was around 2012,
What's the
2013.
drill error? You're gonna have to explain a little.
The music that talk about spinning the block, killing your ops, having all types of guns, where they doing like this all in the camera. That's
Okay, that's
and
called drill music.
drill rap. Yeah.
Okay.
And then Bobby Shmurda was the
Oh, okay.
drill rap. He was the first drill rapper in New York, but it
Okay.
all started with them Chicago guys. And I don't want to act like I'm higher, mightier now and better than we was rocking with the drill wave back in the 2012s. But to see the effect it has had on our community is devastating. And it's crazy because all those, not most of those guys, aren't even on that time anymore. Chief Keef is chilling. He doesn't put out music like that anymore. He said I was just young. I remember in the interview, he was like, "Yeah, I was just young and reckless, you know." And all of us who enjoyed that music, it was the same thing. I have friends. I'm not gonna get specific into what they were doing, but who before they would go and do some not legal activities, play a lot of this music to get them in those spirits, to get them hyped up. I know what it does.
Yeah.
So like we talked about it on Monday, how your parents or we have to consume responsibly. There's a lot of kids out there who don't,
Yeah.
and they're hearing all this in it, and they want to emulate that. They want to be that. Anyway, here I go digressing, going off on tangent.
Yeah. No, we're not gonna call that a tangent because that wasn't about the ego. That's about the community. So
Gotta save the babies.
yeah.
When I was rapping over Chief Keef, and I said, but who am I to blame? You who am I to blame? You see a lane about the labels telling you what to say, but how can I blame you? You see a lane and then try to make a little bread for them to get out the hood. We ain't so different. Motivation same. Like I get it.
Yeah.
I see you make your money, but like at what cost? You know that's my
Right.
at
Right.
what,
All money ain't good money. All money ain't good money. And yeah. So we're gonna save that for some future episodes. We're gonna really unpack that. And it's called drill rap, but I want to say we're gonna drill down on that.
Ooh.
And
There
I'm
you
not.
go.
Look, I wasn't trying to
Don't get
play
you
with the
started. I
words.
ain't gonna say nothing.
I wasn't trying to play with the words. It just happened naturally. But
That's happy. No pun intended.
yeah, no pun intended. Because I didn't know Chief Keef felt that way, but it makes a whole lot of sense. It makes a whole lot of sense.
That's what
And
I say. G Herbo's another one. He goes by G Herbo, a Lil Herb back in the day. Same deal.
okay,
He's rapping about. He even had a project he came out with years later. It might have been 10 years since the drill days, 2013, 2014. So I think, nah, maybe it was like, no, it wasn't last year. The year before that, it was like 5 years ago. Maybe came out with an album called PTSD. The stuff he saw and how it affected him from what he saw while being out on those streets. I
wow.
believe it was called PTSD. If it wasn't a album called that, it was a track called that.
And what's the artist name again?
G Herbo, Herbo, G Herbo.
Okay,
But he was one of those original Chicago guys too.
okay,
And they were young and just, young making music in their room, just rapping about the stuff they were doing.
yeah, yeah. Well, I I've heard I like Eminem, but I don't listen to hip hop rap as much as I used to. Like not the new stuff. But Eminem has recently, like there was a video he had did where it was like the old him and the new him, or I'm sorry, new him, the
Yeah,
old him and
Shake
the
Slim
current.
Shady and Marshall Mathers. Yup.
Yeah, Slim Shady, and Marshall Mathers, and just I love Eminem because he's so creative and the way he does his storytelling and the way he does his videos, like he really brings it together. And to me, like I'm so proud of him for saying a lot
Mm-hmm.
that he said and criticizing, not I shouldn't say criticizing, but doing the self-reflecting with us. I so much appreciate that he's doing the self-reflecting with us because he's not that person anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a reminder that we are all evolving and we're all learning and growing. And again, hip hop is art. So an artist's work is going to evolve too. It's going to evolve too. You look at any of the great artists, painters, and you see how their work evolves. So to me, you should expect to see that in all art.
You
Um,
should expect to see it. You should. And that's another conversation on the folks who don't.
all right. All
We
right.
have from. Uh,
Yeah. So,
I'm
so go ahead. I didn't mean
no,
to.
I'm just trying to rein it in because you know how conversations usually go.
I know. And I'm
On
thinking too.
topic.
I'm thinking too, like, what would MLK say? So I haven't really read off the essential question because I just got really, really hype. But I do want to go back and say something about the Awujo experiment.
Okay.
So there's a lot of people don't know this. I mean, this is something that I had started sharing with people last year. Um, because I love Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. And people know that Philadelphia is known as the city of brotherly love, but they don't spend the time to ask why. Where did that name come from? In short, it's a holy experiment. Well, anyway, Philadelphia is known as the city of brotherly love because it was considered to be an experiment.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an experiment to see if people come together. Can a city be great with people just doing what they're supposed to be doing, looking out for one another, being kind to their neighbors? And the Awujo experiment, I want to see that happen for this podcast. Can we come on here? Can we talk about the things that matter to us and it resonate with others and they share what resonates in a compassionate, loving, and caring way? And knowing that we are all part of this human experience, we're all here at this same time. And if you're here on this podcast, if you've connected to us in some way, then, let's understand let's understand what can come from that. Let's
Mm-hmm.
understand what magic could even happen from that. And yeah, I'm gonna use the word magic. I am, because it should feel magical
Yep.
when you make connections like this. And that's not for me. That is something that Steve Jobs has said.
Mm.
New technology is supposed to feel magical. So if new technology is supposed to feel magical, why wouldn't that hold true for experiences? We're
Mm.
supposed to feel good about the things that we do. And when we don't, there's a reason. And that is time for us to step back and ask ourselves why. And, if we can do it by ourselves, that's great. But when you need that witness, when you need that person by your side to help you stay out of your head or to remind you of your greatness, let's learn how to do that in places like this.
Mm.
Starbucks is known for being the third space.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I'm okay with this being a third virtual space. I'm okay with that because I there's a lot that I want to share for all communities, but the Black community in particular, because this is my ethnic community, and this is I know a lot about being a Black woman at almost 50.
That's what we can speak to.
Yes,
Yeah. Most
yes,
authentically.
yes, and something that we had talked about on Monday, and I've made this part of the podcast, like documentation, is that this is meant to be a collective pre-mortem,
Mm.
um, my generation to yours, because smartphones came. How old were you when you got your first smartphone, Slim?
My mama ain't give me a phone till I went to high school, but that's only because I went out of state. I'm sure she would have waited longer.
Okay.
Smartphones
for me, what I can remember about technology is how dependent children got on it. I was bothered by that because growing up, I've always loved technology. I've always had a love of computers, the science, the engineering piece. But I never had technology in my pocket, um, or had access to it the way the younger children. Um, so let me share it like this. Technology, there's a reason that Facebook, or Zuckerberg, Jobs, and the tech geniuses didn't want technology, and didn't want their own technology, the technology they created. They didn't want their children using it. So when things like that happen, it's like, all right, pay attention. So I 20 years in corporate. I started off my corporate career working, for a software company, and my boss at the time was, one of the brain powers behind Bluetooth. So Bluetooth was created by, a bunch of friends and folks from the Nordic region. Um, and they created technology that was responsible. So I experienced people creating these things that were going to make a whole lot of money for people and connect the dots on things, but there was a responsibility to they had there was a responsibility that they felt, um, and wanted to make sure that it wasn't misused, because they knew that they were creating something that was so innovative and so next level that in the wrong hands it could be abused. And that's with anything. You have a positive and negative to everything. So me working at this software company, I thought that that's how all technology was created, how all advances in technology happened. People came together, they thought it through, and they said, okay, we can release this to the people. Social media wasn't put together like that. It wasn't. It was meant to get people's attention, and it was meant to keep people engaged so that they could pull information and understand how to later market to those same people. So it was set up with the goal of some people making a whole lot of money off of people being addicted. All right, Slim. So the essential question for today's podcast, is, if MLK and Tupac were alive today, what would they say? And I'm going to let you respond to that first.
I'd like to start with the easy one. Tupac would be very proud of what Kendrick is doing right now. I'm gonna start with the easy one,
Okay.
and then we'll go a little further. He'd be very disappointed with the state of rap, and that's why he would be very proud of what Kendrick is doing. I think MLK, he didn't get to see the birth of hip hop. He didn't get to see it, so I think he would have felt a bit of a way, but I think he would have grew to love it by the time the late 80s into the 90s and what a lot of the 90s produced. But toward the late 90s and the 2000s, I think he may have wanted to take a step back
Okay.
because the message started to get pimped out. Word to Kendricks to pimp a butterfly. Uh, he would have known the Am I allowed to say?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
He would have seen that the powers that be grabbed the reins and began to steer the ship of something created out of oppression and love and struggle. I think, stay on the question. I'm thinking about the drum major instinct. I don't want to get there yet.
Okay.
I think the both of them together would have eventually formed some sort of relationship because they were on the same kind of timing. And who knows, maybe with those two, hip hop never would have taken the direction it did. But yeah, I think it ends off nicely. Those two together would have hip hop wouldn't have gone the direction it would have went.
Yeah. So that's your response in terms of hip hop. What about if we take it a step further?
Yeah, I did say I started easy, huh?
How would they feel about society right now?
Mm,
And the reason I'm asking it this the reason I'm asking you to respond to it that way is hip hop being art. It is an extension of MLK's message and work,
mm,
in my opinion.
I
So so
agree.
so I want to understand um, how you feel, or I want to hear the components or the pieces to. I want to hear. I'm trying to understand or assess how you feel hip hop has impacted society. I know that's a lot, right?
Well, it was impacting society in a very positive way, and that was noticeable, which is why it began to divert in the 90s and 2000s. Is why it's it was steered off course.
Okay.
It was impacting the community was intended to impact in all the right ways. Um, the way it's impacting society now is devastating, and why a renaissance was necessary, why Kendrick had to put on this public display he did. It's why it meant so much to everybody in the community. It meant so much. Like, okay, so not all hope is lost. Um, because the way it's impacting society now, I talked about it earlier with the drill music. We've got violence that's normalized. We've got nonchalance or not caring. It's cool to just not care about anything, to not be passionate about something. It's cool to not care. And that's what hip hop is. It's passionate. You care about this thing. Now you're using this thing as a means to tell people you don't care. And that goes into the romantic aspect of being heartless and cold-hearted and misogyny, disrespecting women, complete and utter disregard and disrespect of women. And even in the media that supports the music, if you watch some of the videos, there's a lot of women of color who are degraded and demeaned.
Mhm.
So I love seeing Dochi and her being on the legs of this renaissance as well. And she's very intentional about putting darker brown and black dark skinned women up with her. It's it's beautiful to see. It's beautiful to see. I got anything else? Because hip hop is the culture. If you look all around the world, and I talk about this all the time, and I remember having this thought the first time in high school. We had a flag day, and everybody walks around with their flags, and they're so proud, and they talk about the national language, the food, and memory from there, because it was an international school, went to a boarding school. Or like you got people who are just proud to be an American, and uh, Cowboy Carter addresses that in an interesting way. I
Yeah.
don't know if I want to put words to black folks' relationship with the American flag. So my job, my junior year, was to represent the African American flag.
Okay.
And every year is the same thing. Oh, the green represents the grassy pastures and the in the flourishing community, something like that. No, and the red represents the bloodshed, and the black represents the rich color of our skin. And I'm like, and then I paused in the middle reading the card, and I put it down. I'm like, man, every time Flag Day comes around, I'm jealous. I look around and I see all of y'all. Y'all got land to attach to this identity. Me, I'm a descendant of the lost people. So you've got people from African countries, and there are people from African countries that went to my school. You're from the motherland. That's something to be proud about. I see an American flag. I see a lot of people on a daily basis that do not want us here. And I was
Mhm.
going to get to that too, with especially social media and online. It's a lot more visible.
Mhm.
Never forget in fourth grade, hopping on Call of Duty, and they hear the way you speak, and it might be a certain, you do not speak with proper English vernacular, so they can tell if you
Yeah.
get called a monkey left and right, or
Mm.
people just hoo hoo ha ha in your ear, like you don't even want. I can't even enjoy the game without you know what I'm saying.
You wait a minute, Slim. This is happening now.
It's still happening.
So when you play games, you
It's
interact
still,
with gamers that taunt
still
you
happening.
like that.
It's still happening. I hop on Fortnite, and Fortnite you can play one person versus everybody, and or you can fill in a squad. I'll get in squad fills. It's 4 people to a squad and 3 people in there, and they just saw the character I was playing with. It was Miles Morales from the Spider Verse movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, we got a black Spider Man. We got an N word. Hard ER. I'm like, geez, the game didn't even start. We didn't even load up and get on the bus. We didn't even jump off.
Wow.
I said, all right, yeah, I didn't get on the game to get called that. You be blessed, man, and I really hope you do better. And they're like, oh, he speaks. He really is an N word. So we got a monkey. Woo, 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 woo. And his friend was like, dude, relax, stop. I was like, I appreciate you. You should try and help your friend out. So y'all be blessed, man. And I just hopped off the squad. I quit the game.
I'm glad you quit it.
No,
I'm glad you quit it.
and that's the challenge of myself too, because all about being spreading love and light. So when you get hate, what are you gonna do with that? Because
Yeah.
because now in my mind, after like you said, being in corporate spaces with me, being in these schools, what I've learned is the people, like especially in college, the folks who vote Republican or outwardly Trump, you got the black folks giving them dirty looks. You're giving them fuel.
Yeah.
You're giving them evidence to support what they believe to be true.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I'm like,
understand that.
yeah,
I get that. But at the same time, um, I wouldn't want to subject myself to that for
understandable. No,
extended periods of
I won't
time.
want to be around it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah.
I can remove myself if you do not want to hear me. That's different. That's cool. I'll go over here, but you be blessed, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But you be alright.
Yeah, I love the way you handled it. I'm just really shocked to know that that's something that
Still,
is still that happens. I'm not a gamer, so I'm not in that space.
still.
Um,
10 years old, so 19 years ago was 25 minus 19. Was it 06? Oh
mm,
six when I was playing Call of Duty and all this is happening. Call you an N word. You only got 2 kills and died 13 times. You effing enter. Jeez. Like, yeah, it gets ugly online. It gets because you're anonymous.
yeah,
Halfway across the country, there are no real consequences or repercussions for talking crazy to people.
yeah. It's just words,
Yeah,
freedom of speech.
yeah. So stuff like that with MLK, that's society. That's the next generation. He was hoping for the children to be able to, and that's the way it's going. That's the
Yeah,
way it sounded.
yeah. Well, and that so Tupac's messaging is an extension of MLK's messaging. And there's a line in Tupac's Changes that really resonates with me. And it's when he says, I'd love to go back to when we played as kids, but things changed, and that's the way it is. Um, I'm I didn't know that gamers endured that type of abuse. I just assumed that a lot of the tension and crazy that was going on now was only happening um, in in and as I'm saying this, I'm realizing how what I'm saying makes no sense. So it may have been some cognitive dissonance on my part,
Mhm.
but I just would not have expected people to go to a platform or to be engaged in a gaming activity and have to deal with that. Because what you just shared to me calls to mind things that Jackie Robinson would have endured going to
Mm.
play sports, the baseball, the game that he loved, and being called racial slurs and things like that. So, what's changed? Um, what's changed?
What I'm saying, yeah. Even like basketball online, and I forgot about this because I don't have the newest 2K. It's so weird to hear people talk from their character. You can create a character to look like you, right? Or you
Okay.
can just pick a random one. It don't sit well in my spirit to know it's white folks out there with a black avatar. That's I don't know what to call it, but that's something.
Yeah.
That's something. And then
Yeah.
you get on here and
New
say
age blackface.
then you get on here and say the N word, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a quit. That's yeah.
Yeah. Well, so back to Tupac on that and changes. It sounds to me like well, not sounds to me, and this is Slim, and we've talked about this in other times, but what we're dealing with right now is a bunch of hurt inner children. They're
Mm,
acting out. So if adults are playing games and still behaving childishly and saying things like that, what are they dealing with? Now, where I'm at 2025 is for them to deal with. But the people who create these games, they need to have some safety measures in place so that people who don't want to be subjected to that aren't subjected to that.
I was gonna say, yeah, you can report folks for like hate speech and such.
You
Yeah,
can report it, but this is where I come in. That's not something you should have to raise your hand to share. That's something that can be monitored. That's something that can be handled. So I don't like to say it can be policed because I'm trying to use that term less, but this is an appropriate use of that term. Some
yeah,
policing needs to happen there.
yeah.
Care, community watchdog, whatever you want to call it, but you can have that be part of that gaming experience. There's just no excuse for that. So when I know that things like that exist, when there's so much opportunity to fix that, it's tolerated for a reason. It's tolerated for a reason. So are the people that are coming there gaming, or they're just to game? Or are they there because they have an opportunity to talk crap to whoever they want to talk crap to and
And
use
it's
those types of terms?
yeah, I was about to say, and there's some people who get on and from the get go will start talking crap the
Yeah,
moment they get on.
yeah, yeah.
The other
That's
people on it, like when you load into the game, it's like, hey, bro, and you can hear a lot of it might be 3 on 3, so you got four people, two people arguing, and four people like, come on, bro, like, can y'all just who?
wow,
Yeah,
wow.
it's a lot going on.
So we're a future episode. We're going to have to talk about the game, the dozens, the dirty dozens, and how that is meant to build people's confidence and self-esteem. But even with that, there are rules of engagement.
Mhm.
So what I'm hearing, you being in like that environment with these gamers, it's an opportunity for you to, develop thicker skin and become tougher and all that. And I get that. but there still needs to be rules of engagement. So the dozens, which is related to hip hop, or I need to study this a little bit more before I can.
About it, yeah.
Okay, but from what I understood is hip hop rapping incorporated the dozens because it gave two people an opportunity to spar in a sense.
Yep.
And that's where you learn how to, debate. So what I was saying with the dozens is there. All right, I'm gonna go there. A lot of what's going on right now, I think, in society is we're dealing with tribal issues, but we're not understanding why these tribal issues are still issues. We're not connecting it to what we need as a society and how some of these things may give us a window into the point that I'm trying to make is a lot of this behavior is tribal, is primitive. Okay. If we spend the time talking about that, connecting the meaningful dots and doing the self-reflecting, we can let that behavior go. So the tribal stuff I want to hold on to is the cultural stuff that keeps us great. Okay. That's what I want to hold on to. The tribal stuff that we are proud of, not the bad stuff. This is what evolution is about. It's about letting go of the things that no longer serve you. So
why would I throw in the towel? I just got in my bag. I don't make no mistakes. I'm coming for mine, and there ain't no one taking my place. Listen, I've taken some L's. Yeah, that means I lived and I learned. Now I got some money to burn. Why would I throw in the towel? I just got in my bag. I don't make no mistakes. I'm coming for mine, and there ain't no one taking my place. Listen, I've taken some L's. That means I lived and I learned. Now I got some money to burn. Why would I throw in the towel? I just got in my bag. Slow the stars, what they calling out? I don't know what they talking about. Scoop saying back in Rio went 3-0. He immortal now. Look